Now, questions for Coach.
Brent, what did you make in the film of South Carolina, especially the second half?
Yeah, obviously it wasn't good enough. I thought the guys competed in the first half, and not that they didn't compete in the second half, but it wasn't our standard. Like there were too many plays in there that, missed tackles was a big issue. Some of the run fits, that we haven't missed, especially, I think, we mentioned after the game was, from the perimeter, we've got to be better there, and we had a couple of missed opportunities in that second half. On that first drive, we had an opportunity to intercept it. It had been a tough interception on the second play, but still one that I think we can make. We're off the field, a third down. A guy just isn't precise, in his pass rush, and what it does is it closes off the runner, the free runner that we're looking for. It's little things like, and that's what we've stressed this week, and we've tried to make a point is that, hey, listen, little errors can get magnified because it trickles over to somebody else's job and the way that the system and the scheme is designed. And so I think some guys try to do too much in certain opportunities, and when you try to do too much, you get exposed in big plays. So we've got to play better. We know we got to play crisper. We showed in the first half, we were able to get some turnovers that we've been hunting. We got the pick there at the end of the half, which is a great play by Trevin, and the sack fumble there down in the high red zone, which was a big play, saving points. And so, but we've got to put a full game together. Football's not just 30 minutes. It's not 45. It's 60. And so we got to play a full game. Obviously, this week, huge challenge. This offense over the last two SEC games, averaging 520 yards a game. I mean, we understand, and it's not just through the air. I mean, their ground game, they're running it hard. Their running backs are really talented, really physical. Play with square shoulders. They can jump cut. It's obviously the quarterback is playing at a extremely elite level right now. He understands the offense. He knows where to go. He recognizes coverage. He can make his reads. He can go through his progressions. The receivers make contested catches. So, we've got to play at a really high level to be able to have some success this week.
Are there any changes on the back end in your secondary for this week, knowing that they're going to throw the ball so many times?
No, I mean, we're going to be who we are.
How would you assess how the defensive lines played through the first half of the season?
Well, I mean, to single out the defensive line versus any other position group, I think every position group we've had has been, they've had their moments, they've flashed, they've played well at times, and then, at other moments, I thought we could have played better. I think at times we played really good against the run up there. I still think we need to be more active up front, in conversion and pass rush when it's time to hunt. But that's not just the defensive line; that's the outside linebackers are the same way. Like we, as a group right now, we need to strain a little bit more. We need to be active a little bit more, and we're leaving plays out on the field, and those plays can help change momentum. Those plays can help win ball games, and we can't leave those out.
Do you feel like Jacquez's presence not being out there most of the last two games has affected the defense? Just maybe not so much physically, but just mentally.
Yeah, you just never know exactly. I mean, I think we've got quite a few leaders on this team, but no, anytime you lose a really high level, not just starter and quality player, and obviously his production, but his leadership and his presence, like you feel that, and just like everybody else across the country, we've felt it, in various games, when we've had to deal with injuries, but that everybody does, and so I think there's obviously, but I thought De'Aaron stepped up, and I thought De'Aaron played, a really solid football game. There were still a couple of plays that he could have played better, but he made some really big plays. for us, and he's continuing to progress. So that's part of this game. Injuries occur, next guy steps up. But yeah, you always sense that a little bit, just from anytime you lose a good football player.
How much, if any, do you guys talk about what happened in this game last year with how much success that offense had?
I mean, every time you play an opponent every single season, you have to watch the previous year's game, and usually you watch multiple years of that. So if you played well, you try not to get too high because it's another game. If you didn't play well, usually you're just disgusted that you have to watch it over and over. But at the same time, it can help spur motivation, and we got to clean up those things that we didn't do well. And number one thing, that we can't carry over from last week to this week was missed tackles. And last year we missed 21 of them in the Mississippi State game.
Does that come into play on like yards after catch? They're number one, I think, in the country.
Absolutely. It was, last year those running backs when they got the ball into their hands, how many yards after the catch they made. And the year before when we played well, we were able to pin those down and limit those yak yards. Obviously the year before as well, the turnovers was a huge deal. And we need to find a way to create some. Rodgers has been super efficient. He does a nice job. He's smart. He protects the football. Again, their running game has really helped continue to open the pass game even more, where there are more explosive plays out there because you can't just sit back in an umbrella. They'll run the football. And so, they are really a complimentary football team right now from an offensive standpoint because they're extremely balanced.
When missed tackles haven't been a problem, then all of a sudden they show up in a game like Saturday. Is that lack of concentration, technique, or just a bad night? What's the reason for that?
There's multiple reasons for that. Sometimes I thought Lloyd ran really hard, and so when you have a guy like that running really hard, you're going to have some natural, missed tackles. But I thought we didn't tackle as a unit, so that if there is a single missed tackle when he is slightly off balance, if you have multiple hats to the football, you can put him to the ground. But if you're not swarming at that moment, then it's another isolation tackle, which then can get missed. And then, what you need multiple hats so that when that ball carrier isn't in a position to make the first guy miss, that you can get those other guys to get the ball down. And I thought that's going to have a direct correlation to this game because we were in a lot of isolation situations last year, and when that first guy misses, if other defenders aren't nearby, then he gets those yak yards that were talked about. Plus, he's in another isolation situation. So.
Is it more? I'm sorry about that. Is it more difficult to prepare for an offense like this that has like 10 guys over 100 receiving yards than maybe one that has one or two go-to guys?
It's a tough game to prepare for just from the fact that they're an extremely efficient offense that's lighting up scoreboards and moving the ball at will. So whether it's 10 receivers or 2 receivers, or it's the running game. Whenever you have an offense that's been this explosive, that's the challenge. It's trying to find a way just to slow it down.
They've jumped on a lot of people early, and you've preached this season about better starts, faster starts. It seemed like you had that after the early touchdown in this last one. Did you like what you saw between that and going into halftime?
Well, it's an interesting question. And from the fact that, yeah, did I like the way we played the first half? Sure. But then to play a terrible second half, leaves no good taste in my mouth. So, I don't know. What's better, to come out slow and play great in the second half, or come out fast and play terrible in the second? They're both bad. What we need is come out fast and then stay strong. Throughout, and that's what we have to do.
Back to your point, you're seeking that complete
game, which we have yet to do. We have not done that. We have to come out of the locker room in both halves.
Coach, how do you feel like Jordan Lovett has stepped into his role since he's become a starter and Jalen went out?
Yeah, I think he's continuing to grow. Like every game, I think there's a comfort level. I think he's at a stage right now that he believes in himself. There's confidence, and we talked about that weeks ago, where he just needs to get enough reps and make enough plays that he's confident in himself. We are, as a staff, his teammates, they have complete confidence. He needs to believe. I think he is getting to that point. Are there a lot of things that we can get better at? Absolutely. He'd be the first one to tell you. But the instinctual piece will start to come, like where the game slows down for him. It hasn't slowed down. It's still pretty fast. And it hasn't helped that every week we haven't really played two offenses that have been similar back-to-back weeks. So every week he has to kind of restart. But that's good in the long-term progress for him to have faced that many different offenses, and he has to learn through all those. It's going to help him in the long run. But it does make the game play faster for him. But it is starting to slow down a little bit.
And that's what
You're not going to duplicate the turnovers that you did in 2020, I'm sure, but how much of you kind of touched on it, how much is that a big part of slowing this type of offense down and making them kind of go out of what they're used to?
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime you can create a turnover, you eliminate the drive at that point. And that's a huge piece. I think when you look back at last year's game and you talk about coming out of halftime, they had the really long drive. I can't remember exactly how many plays it was, 17 maybe, ended up being a field goal, but there were multiple opportunities in that drive to get off the field, whether it was third down, we had a dropped pick, we had opportunities. But when you miss those opportunities, drives extend, you have to do more plays. They continue to gain confidence. It also limits the number of possessions our offense can have the ball. So those turnovers are a huge piece to get the ball back to our offense.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.